Political season continues, and as you've heard, yours truly do some interviews over the past several days. In McAllen, Place 5 is open because Commissioner Sebi Haddad, he jumped ship to run for state office as a Democrat, State House 41. So now we have three folks that are running to fill that seat. Early vote is April 20th. It ends April 28th, and election day is Saturday, May 2nd. And one of those candidates running for Place 5, McAllen, is Professor Mark Murray. He is chairman of the Poli-Sci department over at South Texas College. And with so many years with political science, American, Texas politics, well, you're ready, man, right? You're ready for
ready.
That's all good. How long have you been over at STC, Mark?
Nearly 21 years.
21 years. He and I were talking off air. You love what you do, don't you, brother?
I absolutely
teaching there.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good gig. What do you like most about teaching over at STC?
I loved being in the classroom. Seeing students' faces light up when they understand a concept that you're trying to get across. I haven't been in the classroom for the last 3 years because I took over the chair position, but I still teach online.
Yeah. So when you have conversations with the kids, and I'll call them kids because at your age and my age, they're all kids. How much do you bring from the current items, like the news and the current political culture? How much you put into the conversation on a day-to-day basis in the classroom? You just look at history, or does it get hot and heavy? You guys debating back and forth inside the class with what's taking place? Democrats, Republicans, Washington, Austin, all that stuff.
Yeah, sometimes it does. It really depends. You get years when students are very involved in politics, and other years where they're just apathetic, and it's hard to drag anything out of them. But I'm a news junkie. I've always been that way. I stay up to date. I would hate to walk into the classroom and be asked a question and say, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I haven't watched the news. So we always need to be prepared and talk about whatever's on their mind, but we need to stick to the subject too. We're there to teach them facts, theories, and concepts, this foundation of Intro to American and Intro to Texas politics, to prepare them to move on.
Professor Mark Murray from South Texas College. He's chairman of the Poli-Sci department. He's running for Place 5 in McAllen. Forgive me for going on with the school stuff. I just, because see, you're in the trenches in college and talk about political science. In 20 some odd years that you've been here, have you seen, and I ask you this because recent headlines say that there's a change, Gen Z or the younger generation, they seem to be more conservative. They go to church more. They want more liberty. They're anti-communist, all these things. Maybe it's Charlie Kirk. I don't know. Have you seen the ebb? Have you seen that ebb and flow that is reported in news where maybe 20 years ago they were more leftist, maybe today they're a bit more conservative? Do you see that in the classroom?
It like you said, it kind of ebbs and flows. We saw when Donald Trump first ran in announced in 2015 and 16 that we started to see a lot more outspoken conservative students, whereas prior to that, it seemed like at the college level they tend to be a little bit more liberal, more progressive, but it flows back and forth. We have a pretty good mix, I think, of our students now, just like we do in our department with our faculty. People think that, they're all a bunch of liberal professors, but we've got liberals, we've got conservatives, we have moderates in our department, and so hopefully the students will recognize that and be able to, not feel like they're being taught by someone who is pushing their ideology, but instead, like I said, teaching facts, theories, and concepts.
How I yearn for the so-called liberals back from the 1990s, the Bill Clinton types. The chasm that separated R&D was much shorter, much more narrow. We can't even see each other. It's like a Grand Canyon now between these political philosophies and some very intolerant thing. I describe them as the purple or blue hair cow nose ring types that take offense to everything quickly on a hair trigger, and will walk out or scream in your face or spit on you, and you're just like the intolerant tolerant, as I describe them every now and then.
It's really unfortunate. I consider myself an independent. I'm not a big fan of what I see the division in the country, and it seems to be getting wider and wider. And we're all in this together. Just because someone has different beliefs than me does not make them my enemy. And so I see that sometimes too, and people are triggered by what others say, and it's like, well, just listen to what they have to say, and maybe you'll see a different perspective.
As Tip O'Neill said, all politics is local. I hope that at the local level, maybe we can find some of that sanity.
Absolutely.
And bring it back to the middle. From South Texas College, Mark Murray, he's chairman of the poli-sci department, and he's living politics, man. He's running for office for Place 5, the city of McAllen. So you were telling me off air, this is not your first rodeo. I didn't, and I apologize. I did not remember that race. Sebi
Right.
Haddad was our commissioner in Place 5. You ran against Sebi some years back.
2019 is when I first ran.
Okay.
John Ingram was the incumbent, and Sebi Haddad filed as well. And at the time, I didn't know who Sebi was, and I said, I got to jump in if we're going to get a change in this position. And it was nice on the campaign trail. Sebi and I became friends, and so a lot of people think that you have to be enemies when you're competing in a political race, but that's not the case. You can be friendly. You can be cordial with one another as long as you're playing by the rules and not using dirty politics and things like that.
You mentioned change back in 2019 that you saw it. Is it the same change back then, today? What would you like to change over at City Hall, McAllen, if you're appointed by the voters?
My platform is pretty much the same. I mean, number one is public safety. We have one of the safest cities in the country, and I intend to keep it that way as commissioner. And one of the ways you do that is by keeping your first responders happy. That's really important. Also, greater transparency. People often complain that there are items that are discussed in executive session that could and should be discussed in open meeting. A little bit more transparency on the budget. I'm the only citizen of the city that has attended budget workshops over the last couple of years. So I don't know if people just don't care to be invested in and attend those workshops, but we need greater transparency of how our money is being spent. Downtown revitalization is important.
Okay.
We had the Heart of the City plan in 2008, and they started some revitalization, and then the city turned its attention to the La Plaza Mall, and then they turned their attention north, Tres Lagos and development up north. Now they're turning it back to District 4 with the Bowie Reservoir and projects like that, and I think it's about time we refocus on downtown.
As a McAllen resident, I should know this. I apologize. So is 17th Street part of District 5, or is that another?
It is.
It is,
Yes.
okay. What's your opinion of the nightlife? Because we've had some negative headlines that come
Absolutely.
out. We get rabble rousers, and I'll jokingly say this, but it's kind of true. Riffraff coming in from out of town, and these young ones they get all rowdy and they beat up a cop and things like that. So
Right.
should it continue? I know it seems like the city is moving in a direction to try to make it more difficult for new tenants to set up bars and nightclubs in the area.
Yeah.
Seems like they'd like to move away from that. I just want to get your thoughts on
Yeah,
on
I
that.
think the initial plan was they wanted to have all these bars in one area on 17th Street, kind of like 6th Street in Austin or something, and
Yeah.
maybe it'd be easier to contain what's going on if it's all in one area. Things happen everywhere. We had a shooting up on 6th Street not too long ago. Thankfully, we haven't had those types of issues, but we have people who come in, and unfortunately, there are some underage folks who are drinking, but that's not necessarily the bars that are serving them. That's potentially, if that's the case, then they need to be punished or even shut down for that. But I think most of the bar owners are careful with that because they don't want to lose their businesses. But we can't prevent young people from going out to their cars and drinking and coming back into the bars and causing trouble and things like that. So
Yeah.
it's a difficult situation. It's not a black and white issue. I think it's something that's needed because people want a place to go when they're young and hang out with a crowd. Not maybe not just young people, but for me, I'm over that kind of scene at this point in my life.
Well, your liver can't take it, so go easy on it. Yeah, at this age.
Yeah.
But I understand. But have you even thought as to what could be put in place of that, or maybe just punt it out of town and let them go a city next door or somewhere else to go celebrate? Now, are you in that place, or is there something else that could be done to
I think
make things safer?
I think we just need to make sure that the owners are are following the rules, that they're checking IDs, maybe having wristbands to prevent underage drinking. The police presence needs to be not overwhelming, but enough to where it deters people from fighting and things like that. I think it can be done.
Okay.
But obviously we had some issues recently. Yeah, one police officer got beat up. There was a fight going on, and she wound up being injured. We had that fatal accident on Bicentennial that was caused by
back
underage
to that as well. Yeah.
drinking as well. But that could happen in any place around the city.
I already interviewed the other two opponents. I wish I'll try to circle back and do the 17th Street conversation with them as well. Meantime, infrastructure, drainage, other projects, economic development ideas. I'll give you a couple of minutes to share from your perspective what you'd like to do from the Place 5 perspective.
Yeah,
at City Hall.
Well, as I mentioned, downtown revitalization is a priority for me. I think it's been ignored for too long.
What does that look like in your mind?
Well, way in the future, what I'd love to see long after I'm gone is something like the Domain up in Austin, where you've got shops on the first floor and residential up above, and walking from your apartment or condo to your work and things like that. I think that would be a nice addition to the city. I think it would, it would seem more inviting, I think, to people to go downtown and shop in an environment like that. And a lot of it is, I think, is just cleaning up facades and in the meantime, and making it, beautifying it to make it more presentable, to attract more people. But I am pro growth, but I think we need balanced growth. I'm concerned with our water and electrical grid security. Water is especially important. We want to grow, we want to develop, we want to grow the economy and bring in the tax revenue to the city so we can provide services to folks. But if we outstrip our resources, we're all going to have to leave.
Convention Center, is that part of Place 5?
No, it's not.
Okay, no. That's right outside. I ask you that because some of the ideas that are tossed around, for example, north of the Convention Center, there's a lot of land all the way to Business 83. There's some plans to try to revitalize it, but that's easy because nobody lives there. Right? It's pretty much just a lot of open lots. I think the challenge in old neighborhood McAllen is that, well, the folks, we need a rich enough investor show up in town and provide the money, and then convince folks, oh, please sell it at twice or three times the value. Oh, no, I'm fine. I'm okay. Mijito, I'm okay. I want to stay here. That's part of the challenge. Right. Mark, it's a pleasure. Thank you for stopping by.
You're welcome.
And I hope we can have another conversation before Election Day.
Absolutely.
And good luck over at STC.
Thank you, sir.
Stick around for a while. That's Chairman of the Political Science Department at South Texas College, candidate for Place 5 McAllen, Mark Murray. Thanks for stopping by.